Hi, I'm Donna Jordan from Jordan Fabrics. Today, we're gonna make a quilt. We're gonna make a pattern from Fig Tree and Company. It's called Trellis, and it's got these really fun flowers in it. We're gonna need a layer cake, a background, a little green for the stems and leaves, coral for the flower centers, and of course, we'll need an outside border. So let's go ahead and get started. Each one of the layer cake squares is going to make one of these flowers. And we're going to need a total of 25 flowers, so 25 squares. We're going to use this group called Bubble Pop. It has a lot of nice bright colors, so let's just pick out the 25 squares we like the best. Each of the layer cake squares is going to get cut exactly the same way. So you can cut them individually, or you can take several at a time. I'm going to cut 5 at a time here. I can't give you the sizes we're cutting here because it's not my pattern, but the pattern does tell you very clearly exactly what sizes to cut. Now we need a couple different sizes from the background. Now we also need a center square out of the coral. Here's what we need to make our first block. We need all of the matching pieces cut from the layer cake here. We need 1 center square. We're going to need 8 of these little teeny squares, and we're going to need 4 of these bigger squares. The first step is to take the small squares, fold them in half along the diagonal, and iron them. You can use a little steam. That will help keep them nice and flat. We're heading to the machine now, and the first step is to stitch these triangles onto the square pieces here. So these are square. I'm going to put triangles onto 2 of these corners. So all you have to do is line up the fabrics, and then we're going to stitch right on that ironing line there. And you don't even have to snip your threads, just go over to the next corner and stitch this one on here. So each square is going to get 2 corners. Now they will fold back over. I like to iron these corners down and then trim off the back 2 layers. So just leave a 1/4 inch. And you can use scissors. You can take it to the cutting board with your rotary blade if you want, but this is really a lot quicker. So we needed 2 of these squares. They're made exactly the same. And now we've got 2 rectangles, and we're going to use the same method to put corner triangles on the rectangles. The last thing we need for this block is the center square with these 2 side pieces on it. So just stitch a piece onto each side, and we're going to press the seam allowance away from the center on both of these pieces. Now to put the pieces in order. Okay, we're going to have this guy on the top, the mirror image on the bottom, and these 2 are going to go on the sides, and then we've got 4 corners here. So we're going to have to make this in 3 separate rows. This one, and this one. Just use a 1/4 inch seam. The pieces all fit together very nicely, and press the seam away from the center. I know that's going to be toward the light, which is the opposite way that we normally do it, but the block will lay flatter if you press all these seams away from the center and toward the light. Now here's the best part about these blocks. When we go to sew these together, none of the seams line up, so you don't have to match anything. The pieces fit exact, so this is exactly the same length, but there's no matching of intersections at all. So those blocks are really fun and really easy, and I like how that center is surrounded by what looks like a whole border. Now all I have to do is stitch up the rest of the blocks. Here's all the finished flower blocks. They're nice and colorful, really fun to make. The next thing we need to make is this stem leaf unit that goes between the blocks. You can see it here and you can see it here. We're going to need some of this green for our stems and leaves. Now we need a little more background cut as well. I've got all the pieces we need for one of the leaf stem blocks, and I've gone ahead and ironed these squares in half, just like we did earlier. And here is how they are going to go on these blocks. We're going to put one of these rectangles with the corners upper left, lower right, and the other one is going to be just the opposite. So open this up and stitch right along that ironing line. Go ahead and iron these nice and flat and trim off the back two layers just like we did earlier. Now we have all the pieces so we can lay out the whole block here. These are going to go on the top and bottom of each of the leaves. We've got a stem in the center and these two on the outside. Let me show you how to sew this together. We're going to take these three pieces over here, oops, and just stitch them together, 1/4 inch seam. Everything fits just perfectly. And you're going to want to press the seam allowance toward the light again, towards the light side. Now just do the same thing with this section. Now all of these are exactly the same length, so all we have to do is stitch them all together, and there's no intersections to match, no seams to line up. You can just stitch them right in order. It's amazing how much this actually does look like a stem and leaves. Now I've already stitched up the rest of these blocks. So you can see here, this has a left and a right leaf. The other blocks are made, some of them with 2 lefts and some of them with 2 rights, but they're all made using the methods that I already showed you on how to make this block. We have everything we need now to lay out the quilt. We've got the flower blocks, the stem leaf blocks, and then we've got some of these just plain cornerstones that are cut out of the background. So the quilt is going to get a leaf stem unit between each of the flowers. So I'm just going to start laying everything out. There, everything is laid out. The whole quilt is laid out. I've got the colors balanced so that all these different colors feel like they are weighted properly. Now, the nice thing about putting these blocks together when you make your rows and sew them all together is you don't have to match any seams. So none of these intersections line up here. None of the intersections line up here. So it's going to be really easy to stitch these into rows and stitch the rows together. Then all I have to do is put the borders on and get it quilted. The trellis quilt is all finished. I really am happy with how it turned out. I love how all the flowers just pop right off of that white background. The quilting, I did flowers, little ones and big ones. They look like daisies. There's some circles. So that shows really well against this white background. I used a really light yellow thread. So it's not really the thread that you see, but it's just the texture that you see from the quilting. There's 2 little borders on here. This white one helps those flowers float. And look how nice those green trellis of leaves look on there. You can't really see the quilting from the backside because I used a nice overall print on here, but it's just turned out really, really satisfying to make because you didn't have to match anything. It was really easy. Now it's 74 by 74, so it's a really nice throw size, big throw size quilt. Thanks for watching our tutorial today on how to make the trellis quilt. Now, we're going to have another giveaway. This is called Equinox. You may have seen the video where I showed you how to make this. It's made from a jelly roll. And this is all batiks, all Robert Kaufman batiks with a really nice solid back. Nice quilting, it looks like tree bark. So it's very easy to enter the giveaways, and they're open to everyone worldwide. So click the link right below the video that says giveaway and enter your email address and your name, and you might be the next lucky winner. Now, if you like our videos and you want to support us, the best thing you can do is subscribe to our YouTube channel. That would really help us out. Happy quilting!